A steaming hot pile of fabricated nonsense. Truth is black and white, and it absolutely stands for this point I'm going to make. Number one spot bullshitter goes to... They say the watch world is built on heritage, a refined gentleman's domain of excellence and honesty. What if I told you that many of the stories you're hearing are total lies? From paid-off journalists to shady dealer frauds, I'm going to call out the top 3 biggest deceptions and nonsense I've seen in the industry so far this year. So brace yourself, it's about to get controversial. I'm Vinny, welcome back. Now look, I could have made this video a hell of a long time ago with a list as long as my arm of particular deceptive tactics that dealers make to coerce you into buying a watch, or even brands. Now in most of those cases, 99% of the time, those are exaggerated truths as opposed to lies. But I'm going to start this video with the biggest thing that I've seen this year, the biggest deception, frankly, number one spot bullshitter goes to this particular grey market dealer based in the United Kingdom. Now I'm going to show you an excerpt of a video that he put up on YouTube not long back, towards the beginning of this year, and it's frankly baffling.
I'll be able to offer you that free explaining, do you believe? Put a slight thing on top if you're interested.
Yeah, okay, how much?
Well, the total price to you would be 14,000.
Okay, so, a few grand over retail. Yeah, I think that would work for me. Let's do it.
Perfect. Would you be able to come in today at 4 p.m?
No, I've actually managed to get the Bruce Wayne from a retail store. Unfortunately, I didn't pay retail prices, you have from the conversation, but we've managed to get one.
So just to summarise what you saw then, this particular grey market dealer claims that he has stumbled upon a relationship with a Rolex authorised dealer to acquire brand new watches with a premium on top. In short, this grey market dealer has successfully managed to bribe his authorised dealer into selling him a highly sought after and ordinarily waitlisted Rolex watch. There is no way in the United Kingdom that an authorised dealer would risk their AD licence with Rolex by engaging in this kind of malpractice. Now, as we know, Rolex set the retail price and there is absolutely no movement whatsoever on any Rolexes for the authorised dealers. Now, it used to be the case where they would offer a discount, but they would offer that discount taking a cut from their own margin. Now, in the current context, 2025, there's no need for any of those dealers to offer a discount on those watches to get them sold. That's on the flip side. Now, in this video, this grey dealer is claiming that if he paid a few £1,000s more, he could get the watch immediately, and that left him still with a couple of £1,000 margin. This is absolute bullshit. A steaming hot pile of fabricated nonsense designed for no other reason than to get you to click on his video. I've got to be honest, I thought this guy was more reputable than that. He clearly has a very respectable retail outfit. So why is there a need for him to make this kind of content, when I can unequivocally say there is no way that the camera happened to be rolling whilst he got that call from the authorised dealer to say, yes sir, I know you're a grey market dealer, but I'll sell you the watch for £4,000 more, and that leaves you with a nice margin and I can go home with a great bonus for this week. The scale of that malpractice, if Rolex were to find out, the first thing that they would do is immediately remove the licence from that authorised dealer. The second thing that would happen is all the other brands that particular authorised dealer are stocking, perhaps Omega, Cartier, maybe even Patek Philippe, if they're one of the higher end stores, they would all remove their licenses as well. And then immediately, for the sake of £4,000, that business has lost its livelihood and goes bust. I am a grey dealer in this industry in exactly the same country as this charlatan is operating in. And I must be honest with you, in all of my experience, I've never heard of this before. It is absolute nonsense. Now, are there circumstances perhaps where grey market dealers have relationships with certain employees within authorised dealers and might get hold of a watch occasionally? Yes, but certainly not above and beyond the retail. Was it worth it? That's the question I would ask this guy. Was it worth it? Because I thought, and I'm sure lots of other dealers in this space thought that you were reputable, you were respectable. Immediately, you have lost your credibility. So why is this fool doing this? It comes down to the modern era that we find ourselves in now, where this is the kind of thing which gains traction on social media and which inevitably will grow his following. But I wonder, if the whole point of him creating the YouTube channel is to advance his business and his credibility, and we get to see the inner workings of his business, isn't it just entirely counterproductive? I know that on my own channel, most of you guys watching, look, you're intelligent people. You can see the wood from the trees, and you would smell from a mile off that this is a fabrication and entirely bullshit. It's sad, it's grotesque in a way, and it only paints a even worse, even greyer overall image of the grey market than already exists post clowns like the timepiece gentleman, and there are others. So that leads me smoothly into the second point that I'm going to make in these top 3 biggest deceptions and nonsense that I've seen in the watch industry so far this year, and that is the explosion of paid content on YouTube and across the legacy media as well. Now, most of these guys claim to be journalists. Journalists are, by definition, people who tell the stories, people who find the stories to let the audience, the general public, decide what they make of it. Journalists are not supposed to be paid individuals to whom the stories are delivered to them at their feet and then paid and twist the narrative in such a way to try and influence and manipulate their audience. That's not journalism. It's subjectivity, not objectivity. And we're seeing an explosion of this across YouTube. You cannot open YouTube nowadays without seeing 4 out of 10 new videos focusing on one brand, and that is lately Christopher Ward. Now, for all intents and purposes, and just to preface this, I own a Christopher Ward and I think they're a fantastic brand. The Balcanto deserves all of the praise that it got. It was revolutionary at its price point and the innovation that it delivered. But that was 2 or 3 years ago now. Does it really require every single new release from Christopher Ward, every single bog standard diver watch with a Solita movement to be reviewed and to be praised, and for them to tell you you've got to run to Christopher Ward's website to buy this watch now? No, I don't think it does. And it seems almost every video there is out there now is paid for and is portraying these brands, not just Christopher Ward but others, with a light that perhaps is not what they actually think. And even the most perhaps respected YouTubers who've been in the space for over 5 years are plugging watches that you ordinarily would think, really, mate, are you going to wear that watch? Would you really have that watch in your collection? I don't think so. We know what you really like if you look back at your original videos. So again, it ties into what I said in that first example. You've got to now have your bullshit filter whacked up to 100, and it's got to be hardened in such a way where you're always asking yourself, is this guy being paid to tell me this nonsense? Is this guy just making it up and it's a complete fabrication? Who knows? And the final observation I've made is one that's growing like a cancer, and that many people are repeating the narrative, and because the narrative is being repeated so much that it becomes the truth. Now, there's a big question in the United States about the power and relevance of, in politics, of truth, and what is truth, and is truth pliable? Well, no, it isn't. Truth is black and white, and it absolutely stands for this point I'm going to make, that the truth is Rolex watches are entirely, not almost, they're entirely made in Switzerland. I beg of those people who, hopefully is just few of you watching this video, because my viewers tend to be more intelligently minded, but of those few who have got the attention span of a goldfish, watches made by Rolex are made in Switzerland, are Swiss made and not Chinese made. Now, why do I say for those of you with the attention span of a goldfish? Because I think that many of you are seeing videos, content, maybe entirely AI generated, or thumbnails by some of the bigger YouTubers which allude to potentially, are Rolex watches Chinese? And it asks the question, so because it asks the question, you don't really watch the video and listen to the explanation, you think, oh, there's something in that. And it builds into your narrative. Perhaps you can't afford a Rolex, and you tell yourself, right, oh, well, it's a good job I've never owned one of those then. If they're that crap, I'll just buy a watch off AliExpress instead. And that gives you vindication in your decision making that you've never bought a Rolex and that you don't own one and I'm better than you. These videos started off saying that Rolex watches are potentially Chinese by companies in China. Companies in China who make AliExpress watches that are marketing videos to try and get you to buy their AliExpress watches because, hey, they're just as good as a Rolex. Now, for all intents and purposes, I have spoken many times about the quality, manufacturing prowess of Chinese watches, which in the last 5 years has evolved to a level which is almost brilliant, but they are not Swiss watches. Rolex watches are not the same. The reason why Rolex is as famous as it is because you absolutely know it has a heritage and a history that derives from Switzerland and is still based in Switzerland. They are entirely vertically integrated. They have their own gold foundries and make their own watches from scratch. Now, there's long been a rumour, way before all of this nonsense came about on YouTube this year, there's long been a rumour that perhaps the hands on Rolex watches are outsourced. I read some articles that perhaps since then they have acquired a manufacturer that makes hands. We almost have now a primal instinct to seek that dopamine fix, and scrolling through TikTok, we'll only view something for 5 to 10 seconds because that's as short as our attention span is now. So fighting for your attention is difficult, and it's a vicious cycle. Therefore, even big YouTubers, they're creating videos with thumbnails that make you even question what you knew was true, that Rolexes are made in China. No, they are not. Now, it's true for some of the smaller Swiss brands, perhaps under the £2,000 price point. We mentioned Christopher Ward. Yes, only 60% of the costs attributed to the production of that watch need to derive in Switzerland. So perhaps the bracelet, the case, is outsourced to Chinese manufacturers who do an excellent job, but still they can stamp that Swiss-made badge on the dial. We all know that. We've seen the videos before that explain that, and there are many of these YouTubers who explain that for you in greater detail. So go there and actually watch the videos. If you enjoyed this video, please go leave a like and leave me your comments down below. And join me again next time on the channel for more watches, truth, and no bullshit.